Today in the Hot Chocolates kitchen I'm going to be making white chocolate and macadamia nut fudge, and as you can see I've already laid out and measured the ingredients to help us along the process. I've also written it down here so you can take a still of that if you want. That's the recipe, and it's also there to remind me of what I'm doing. Now, this is a very easy fudge to make, and it is absolutely delicious, so even if you're not very good at cooking, please don't feel that it is beyond you. Right, let's get started. We've got 300 grams of golden castor sugar. I've got 100 grams of hazelnuts, and the reason I've chosen hazelnuts today is because the macadamia nuts were far too expensive in the supermarket, so I've opted for hazelnuts, which were half the price. You can really put in whatever nuts you like, it's entirely up to you. There's going to be a pinch of salt, hence the salt cellar, 250 grams of white chocolate. In the jug I've got 125 ml of evaporated milk. I've got 1 teaspoon of vanilla essence, and I've got 50 grams of unsalted butter. I've got my pan and the spoon ready, and over here I have an 8-inch square tin. I've cut some greaseproof paper to fit, and as you can see I've cut into the corners, which just helps the paper lie into the tin. And the other thing I've done to help it lie down still and flat is I've put a little bit of butter on the tin before I put the paper in, and that should sit quite nicely. So let's get started. Now, the first thing we want to do is pop the light on, and I'm going to pop in my sugar. There we go. And I'm going to add my milk. I'm going to pop in a little bit of salt, just a wee pinch. That just helps bring out some of the flavours. Some people think, oh no, I don't want any salt, but actually it does help with a lot of recipes. And then I'm going to pop my 50 grams of butter in. So I'm going to put this on to a medium heat. There we go. And I'm going to melt these ingredients down whilst I stir them through. And what's going to happen is as they melt, I want to bring it to a boil, but I just want to bring it to a gentle boil. And then once the mixture has reached boiling point, I will turn it down to a simmer, which is a lower heat, and just let it boil, sort of bubble away very gently for about 5 minutes. And whilst that's happening I will be stirring, so it's very important that you don't leave the mixture alone. Sometimes, you know, mixtures can burn on the bottom of pans and we don't want that. So basically bring it to a boil, then simmer 5 minutes, and I will then take you on to the next stage of the process. So I'm just going to stop the video now, and after this has simmered we'll start the cooking process again so you can see the final stages of the fudge. Right, this is part 2 of the white chocolate and macadamia nut fudge, and I've just simmered the mixture for 5 minutes. I've just switched the heat off and I've taken it completely off the heat, and that's quite important because even if you stop the heat, what you will find is if you leave the pan above the source of heat, it will still cook, and you don't want that. You just want to stir it and let it settle down. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my white chocolate. In they go. That's 250 grams. I'm going to stir that in. Now again, very important to have it off the heat, because if we didn't have it off the heat, the white chocolate would object quite violently to the source of the heat. As you can see, it's stiffening up. I'm just going to add the vanilla essence, stir that in. Now this is looking very firm and quite grainy, but if we continue to stir and don't panic, then the ingredients will do what they're supposed to, and they'll bind together, and they're going to make the most beautiful silky fudge you have ever tasted. You see how the mixture has really started to smooth out. It's starting to get a bit of a gloss on it. Very good for building up your arm muscles. The recipe is on the website, it's on the blog, and it's on the recipes page, but it's the posh version. It's the one where we use a vanilla pod instead of vanilla essence. But if you can't be bothered with that, then vanilla essence or extract, as I've used here, is fine. Okay, right. Moving over here, I've got my 100 grams of hazelnuts. Now I've not chopped them. If I'd used larger nuts, I probably would have chopped them, but I quite like the whole hazelnut in the fudge. So just bind that together before we transfer it over to the tin. And what we're going to do is move it over here, and I'm going to pour it into the tin. I don't think I can do that one-handed because I'm filming this myself, but I'm going to pour it into the tin, level it out, and then it's going to go into the fridge. Well, first of all, it's going to cool. It needs to cool in the kitchen, and then it should go into the fridge to set properly. You can then take it out after a couple of hours, and you can either cut it up if you want to use it immediately, or you can store it in the greaseproof paper. Either way, it will keep for around 2 weeks, and I'm sure you'll be very happy with it.